This is Nightline, and I'm Raymond Goh. The headlines. Graft detected in procurement of pandemic-related medical services. And at least 4 companies under probe for allegedly colluding to form cartel. Good morning. At least 4 chicken producers and importers, which are among the main industry components in the supply of poultry, are being investigated by the Malaysian Competition Commission, MyCC, for colluding to form a cartel. Its Chief Executive Officer, Iskandar Ismail, said a probe since February, which included a number of witnesses that also comprised the relevant local authorities, has entered the final stage, and the findings are expected to be presented in a meeting at the end of next month. According to Iskandar, the probe by the Special Task Force formed to investigate the alleged collusion between poultry companies operating in the country is complicated, as the market is wide and involves various industry players. Considering the issue involves public interest, the investigation is being carried out thoroughly from upstream to downstream.
Bila dah dibentangkan, jadi kami akan siapkan kalau ada isu dan kami sediakan keputusan cadangan dulu. Keputusan cadangan, daripada keputusan cadangan tu kita akan beri masa kepada pihak-pihak yang disiasat tu. Setelah mereka menerima keputusan cadangan kami tu, dia boleh bagaimana mengemukakan defense dia ataupun pembelaan dia untuk mengatakan bahawa mereka tidak melanggar akta kami, Akta Persaingan 2010. So jadi bila kita dah dengar, barulah kita buat keputusan akhir.
The findings of the probe will be presented to members of the Commission, comprising 4 government representatives and 5 from the private sector, led by MyCC Chairman, Datuk Sri Muhammad Hishamuddin Mat Yunus, a former Court of Appeal judge. The punishment for those involved in anti-competitive practices involved financial penalties that do not exceed 10% of the worldwide turnover of the infringing company over the period during which the infringement occurred. Meanwhile, the move to halt chicken exports from June 1st will be reviewed once the country's supply stabilizes. Agriculture and Food Industry Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Ronald Kendi said the government's intervention, as announced by Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob on Monday, was to ensure the domestic supply is adequate.
Keadaan di negara kita berhadapan dengan kekurangan ayam. Jadi langkah kerja ini merupakan satu langkah sementara yang akan dikaji sebaik saja bekalan ayam negara kembali stabil. Jadi ini untuk memastikan keperluan negara itu boleh kita capai untuk negara kita. Kita maklum bahwa industri ternakan ayam dan telur merupakan satu industri yang sepatutnya memenuhi keperluan negara.
Datuk Sri Dr. Ronald said this to the media when met at his ministry's Aidilfitri Open House in Putrajaya on Tuesday. He explained that the shortage of chickens was due to several factors, as informed by the industry, including disease and weight that did not meet standards to be marketed. He added the government had intervened earlier to address the increase in chicken prices by providing subsidies of 60 cents per kilogram to farmers in February and March, and then added another 80 cents in April and May, making the total subsidy at 1 ringgit 40 cents per kilogram. The intervention measures involved more than 700 million ringgit for 6 months. It was reported that a total of 3.6 million birds were exported to several countries every month, including Singapore, Vietnam and Pakistan, while the demand for chicken in the country is between 1.8 million to 2 million birds per day. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, has detected elements of graft in the procurement of COVID-19 related medical services, with investigations launched into several issues such as bribery. Its Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki revealed, even in this pandemic, there are unscrupulous individuals who are taking the opportunity to make money illegally from the pain and misfortune of others.
Among the investigation that NCC embarked on in relation to COVID-19 includes 1. Bribery in the procurement of medical services. Number 2. Abuse of power in diverting relief aid and stimulus packages. Number 3. Fraud related to falsified medical protective equipment such as face masks, gloves and others in terms of quantity and lower quality of medical equipment, and bribery of enforcement officers in the line of enforcing the movement control orders.
Tan Sri Azam said this in his keynote address at the 3rd Malaysian Anti-Corruption Forum in Putrajaya on Tuesday. In another development, he said the MACC had opened 376 investigation papers in the first 4 months of 2022, resulting in 415 arrests. Last year, the Graft Buster opened 829 investigation papers, which resulted in 851 arrests, with total assets seized totaling 162 million ringgit, while forfeitures amounted to more than 5.1 billion ringgit.
Anda berbakat menyampai berita dan berminat dengan dunia kewartawanan? Sertai uji bakat pencarian wajah baharu Buletin TV3 sempena ulang tahun ke-38 TV3 sekarang. Syarat-syarat dan cara penyertaan adalah seperti berikut. Tarikh tutup penyertaan pada 31 Mei 2022. Jangan ketinggalan, mungkin anda yang kami cari.
Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, who began his working visit to Japan on Tuesday by meeting with Itabashi Mayor Takeshi Sakamoto, expressed Malaysia's interest in learning from the city's experience in reducing the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Through his observation during his journey to Itabashi City, the Premier said he believed that Malaysia has a lot to learn from the management of the city, especially when the world is facing extraordinary challenges due to COVID-19.
Seperti mana kita semua maklum, pelbagai sektor sosial dan ekonomi perlu dibangunkan semula selepas pandemik COVID-19 agar kembali dapat beroperasi dengan optimum. Saya percaya Jepun dan khususnya pengurusan Bandaraya Itabashi juga mempunyai kaedah pengurusan terbaik untuk mengurangkan impak akibat pandemik, dan saya percaya kita boleh bertukar-tukar pandangan dan juga bertukar-tukar pengalaman.
Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said this in a ceremony at Itabashi City Hall to celebrate his inaugural visit to Japan since holding the Prime Minister's post in August last year. At the ceremony, the Prime Minister admitted that Malaysia truly admires Japan for its high achievements in science and technology, as well as its success in people's welfare management and cooperation at the international level. He also said Malaysia and Japan shared noble and commendable values in upholding their respective cultural heritage. Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri arrived in Tokyo Monday night to kick off his 6-day working visit to the country. Itabashi is one of the 23 wards in Tokyo metropolis. On Friday, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri is scheduled to meet with his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida, who was appointed Prime Minister last October. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri was awarded the Honorary Doctorate in Medicine by Nihon University, which is one of the most distinguished and oldest private universities in Japan. The honorary degree was in appreciation of the Prime Minister's efforts and contributions in the fight against COVID-19. Nihon University President Dr. Naoto Kato gave the award to Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri at the university during his visit in Itabashi City.
Sesungguhnya anugerah ini merupakan satu pengiktirafan besar, bukan hanya untuk saya, tetapi buat seluruh keluarga Malaysia yang telah membuktikan keupayaannya untuk menangani pandemik COVID-19 dengan cara sendiri.
Dr. Kato, in his citation, acknowledged that Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri had played a central role in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and had given top priority to people's lives and health. He added that this has significantly contributed to the building of trust in international medical collaboration and improvement of technology in remote diagnosis and treatment, as well as functional recovery training. A supply and demand imbalance and high traffic volume leading to longer travel times have been identified as among the main factors contributing to the surge in fares and affecting the service quality of e-hailing. Transport Minister Datuk Sri Wee Ka Siong said the data was obtained after a recent discussion between his ministry and the Land Public Transport Agency APAT with the e-hailing operators EHOs. In a statement on Tuesday, Datuk Sri Wee said some e-hailing companies have recorded a drop in the number of registered drivers by 30% compared to pre-pandemic times, which indirectly led to longer than expected waiting times in some locations. At the same time, he added that there had been a sudden increase in the demand for e-hailing services after the country entered the transition to endemic phase on April 1st, which saw an increase in economic activities and people's movement. Datuk Sri Wee pointed out that these factors have had the most effect on the fare algorithms employed by EHOs, which account for many factors, including distance, traffic volume, weather patterns, as well as market supply and demand. In terms of fare structure regulation, he said the government does not regulate the base fare and the surcharge cannot be more than 2 times the base fare, taking into account peak rates and fuel prices. Despite this, the government will continue to ensure that more EHOs along with taxis and buses are available to provide commuters with more choices.
Ayo semarakkan sokongan anda untuk Harimau Malaya. Siri persahabatan antarabangsa. Secara langsung hanya di TV9 dan Astro 149.
More local updates later in the bulletin. But first, after this short break, Russian court rejects appeal of jailed Kremlin critic Navalny. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us on Nightline. On to the foreign front now. A Moscow court threw out jailed Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny's appeal against a 9-year prison sentence that he and his allies condemn as politically motivated. The court on Tuesday ruled to leave the sentence without changes and for it to enter into force immediately. This meant that Navalny will be transferred to a strict regime prison colony to serve out his term after he was found guilty in March of embezzlement and contempt of court. Navalny, by far Russia's most prominent opposition figure, was handed the 9-year jail term in March, in addition to the 2.5 years he is already serving. The new sentence will replace the one he was handed in February 2021, meaning Navalny will remain behind bars for another 8 years. The 45-year-old, however, maintains the charges against him were fabricated to thwart his political ambitions. The World Health Organization (WHO) on Tuesday said there have been 131 confirmed monkeypox cases and 106 further suspected cases since the first was reported on May 7th outside the countries where it actually spread. And while the outbreak is unusual, it remains containable and limited, as it announced that it is convening further meetings to support member states with more advice on how to tackle the situation. The organization also encourages people to increase the surveillance of the outbreak to see where transmission levels are and understand where it is going. It added that it is unlikely that the virus has mutated, but said that transmission may be being driven by a change in human behavior, particularly as people return to socializing as COVID-19 restrictions are lifted worldwide. Malaysia survived Korea scare in Asia Cup. Sports is coming up next. Sports. National men's singles badminton ace Li Zijia went up one rung to the 5th position in the Badminton World Federation BWF rankings. Based on the latest rankings released by the BWF, Zijia collected 90,378 points from 41 tournaments he has participated in, surpassing Indonesia's Anthony Sinisuka Ginting, who currently sits in 6th with 87,879 points. Meanwhile, the Olympic champion from Denmark, Victor Axelsen, remains the world number 1, followed by Japan's Kento Momoto in 2nd place. Zijia's achievement also puts him in the same league as former national badminton singles champion Dato' Lee Chong-wei, who had once placed himself among the top 5 in the world. On to hockey now. Malaysia beat South Korea 5-4 to cement their spot in the Super 4 of the Asia Cup at Gelora Bung Karno Stadium in Jakarta, Indonesia on Tuesday. Leading 4-1 after the second quarter, Malaysia almost collapsed as South Korea went on full press. Malaysia had scored through Nur Shafiq Sumantri in the 11th and 27th minutes, Razi Rahim 17th and 52nd minutes, and Asran Hamsani 32nd. Yang Ji-hun, Jang Jong-hyun and Kim Seong-hyun scored for Korea. Faiz Helmi Jali, Azrai Aizat, Shahril Sabah and Captain Marhan Jalil were also yellow carded for various offences during the match. The Speedy Tigers, who thrashed Oman 7-0 on Monday, have 6 points from 2 matches in Group B. They will next play Bangladesh on Thursday. On to tennis now. 14th seed Denis Shapovalov was dumped out of the French Open on Tuesday, losing in straight sets to Holger Rune, while Karolina Pliskova booked her place in the second round. Denmark's Rune, who currently sits 40th in the world rankings, won 6-3, 6-1, 7-6 in his first meeting with Shapovalov and will face Pedro Martinez or Henry Laaksonen in the second round. Meanwhile, French wildcard Tessa Andrian-Jafitrimo claimed the first set of a match against Pliskova 6-2. However, 2017 French Open semi-finalist Pliskova fought back to win 2-6, 6-3, 6-1. And the Czech advanced to a second-round meeting with another French wildcard, Liulia Jean-Jean. Ex-diplomat arrested after marijuana farm discovered on property. More from the local front when Nightline returns. Back to Nightline. The number of foot, hand and mouth disease HFMD cases in the country has increased at a worrying rate of 20-fold, with 47,209 cases reported as of May 21st this year, compared with only over 2,000 cases in the corresponding period last year. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said Selangor recorded the largest number of HFMD cases, with 13,640 cases, or 28.9% of the total, followed by Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya with 6,206 cases and Perak with 4,099 cases. Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham said 15,548 cases were recorded nationwide in the 20th epidemiology week ended May 21st, which was an increase of 106.6% from only 7,526 cases recorded in the previous week. He said the majority of the disease outbreaks occurred in nurseries, kindergartens and preschools, with 711 outbreaks, followed by private homes with 407 outbreaks and child care centres with 42 outbreaks. He explained that most of the HFMD cases occurred among children below the age of 6, which was evident in 43,736 cases, or 93% of the total cases, followed by those aged 7 to 12 with 2,765 cases, and those over the age of 12 with 696 cases. Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham also stated that state health departments and district health officers nationwide had conducted engagement sessions with the agencies that supervise the management of nurseries, kindergartens and preschools since the 17th epidemiological week following the increase in HFMD cases in most states. A former Malaysian diplomat has been arrested by the police after being suspected of owning a cannabis farm with more than 100 trees at his home in Jandabaik, Pahang. The case is being considered to be the largest cannabis plant seizure in the country's history, as the majority of previous seizures only involved cannabis plants grown in pots. According to Pahang Police Chief Dato' Ramli Muhammad Yusof, the police confiscated 102 cannabis trees at the ex-diplomat's home with an estimated value of 61,200 ringgit, along with dried cannabis leaves weighing 1.02 kilograms worth an estimated 2,500 ringgit and a bottle liquid made of cannabis extract worth 250 ringgit.
Hasil ujian saringan awal ke atas sampel urin suspek utama yang di dalam rumah itu, dalam rumah tu didapati negatif dadah, negatif. Suspek yang berusia 78 tahun tadi. Walau bagaimanapun, berdasarkan siasatan awal polis, suspek atau kita kenali sebagai B1 lah dalam kes ini, mendedahkan menggunakan cecair disyaki minyak ganja dengan mencampurkan beberapa titik ke dalam minumannya sejak 3 tahun yang lalu.
Dr. Ramli said the suspect admitted to planting the trees in 2015 on a 2-hectare piece of land. He added that after arresting the suspect, the police also arrested his 53-year-old son at his home in Shah Alam. He said the suspect will be investigated under Sections 39B, 6B and 6 of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952 and has been remanded for a week until the coming Saturday, while an application of remand for his son has been put forward on Tuesday. In Sabah, a prison officer was sentenced to 10 years jail and 6 strokes of whipping by the Tawau Sessions Court on Tuesday after being found guilty of sexually assaulting a teenage girl last year. Judge Awang Karisnada Awang Mahmud delivered the punishment against 48-year-old Marino Majabin after finding that the defence had failed to raise any reasonable doubt in the case. The accused was charged with 2 counts of committing sexual acts on the 15-year-old girl in a toilet at the Tawau prison quarters in Taman Ehsan Tawau on January 12 last year. The charges framed under the Sexual Offences Against Children provides for a maximum jail term of 20 years and whipping. According to the facts of the case, the victim and her father had gone to the accused's house for alternative treatment. The court, however, granted an application from the defence for a stay of execution pending an appeal to the High Court. Swedish freestyle skier Jesper Schade has set a new Guinness World Record in the category of longest rail grind on ski by completing 154,049 meters down a long metal pipe in Åre, Sweden. The athlete jumped onto the rail at roughly 77 kilometers per hour before sliding a distance equivalent to the length of 15 double-decker buses. Let's take a look at this as we draw Nightline to a close. With that, I'm Raymond Goh. Thank you for your company and make sure you stay safe.